Hi YouTube, this is Joe Kelton with Kelton Cutlery. You can visit me on the web, keltoncutlery.com. Okay, so this should probably be like number 2 of the Diamond Stone series. And probably the number 1, or yeah, the first video, I expressed what's happening to me with the DMT stones, and that they're still good stones, but I really just want to take a look at see what other kind of diamond stones are out there. And none of these stones were cherry picked or sent to me. I bought them all off of Amazon, and so they should be a good random representative of what these stones are. Now, I could always get lucky and get good stones, and you guys could get bad stones, or the other way around. Maybe everybody else is loving their DMTs and they're sending all the bad ones to me. But anyway, so the first question we ought to ask is, why fool around with diamonds in the first place? You guys know how much I love my Norton crystalline coarse fine, right? This one right here in particular, I have sharpened thousands of knives on this stone, right? And in the last 2 videos that I did, where we did, we laid the edge back on this 8-inch Victorinox Chef. I laid back the edge on the coarse side, cleaned it up on the fine side, clean the top of the stone off of all the loose stone particles and steel particles and trash, and then put down some more mineral oil, and then sheared that burr off with that crystalline stone, and then popped some hairs right off my arm, and held a big old chunk of my arm hair up for you to see. Did the same thing the day before that with this particular knife right here, where we actually reground the whole side of these of the edge bevels. Same scenario with the coarse and then the fine. If that stone right there, which is one of my favorites that I've had that much time into, and this one is an old one, like from the 40s or the 50s, and the one that I used was a current production model within the last 5 years, and I think the old one feels a little bit better, but it's not much. So, and those stones, like I said, this stone, I've got thousands of knives sharpened on this stone. And I can recut this stone with some loose silicon carbide on some plate glass and return it to to as new condition. And diamond stones, they just got a thin layer of diamonds on the top of them. And once you wear through those diamonds, or they come off of the plate, then you're done. You got to buy a new one. These stones right here, the 2x8 version is like 30 bucks or so, shipped off Amazon. These right here are about 60 bucks. So a $30 stone that'll last you your entire career if you take care of it and don't drop it, versus a $60 stone that'll probably last you a year, maybe 2 or 3, as a knife maker making as many knives as I make. So why mess with diamonds at all? Diamonds are convenient, okay? They really are. These stones right here, I don't use them with water, no oil, I just use them dry. Okay, when right before I do my very final, shearing the edge off, I just run the palm of my hand over them, or clean them off on my blue jeans, and they're ready to go. The really nice thing about that is that that's the last thing I do on a knife before I put it in a box and ship it off to my customer. By using the stone dry, I don't have to worry about any water or any oil screwing up the finish in transit, okay? So if I was using water stones, then, when I sharpen that knife right before I box it up, I'd have to sharpen it up, towel it off, let it sit, out in the open for, half hour, an hour or so, make sure all that water evaporated off of that steel before I packaged it up and mailed it. If I was using oil, same thing. The oil isn't going to cause any corrosion, but it's still, you want, when somebody unboxes their knife, you want them to say, oh, that is so much nicer than the pictures, because Joe takes horrible pictures. But this is really nice. It's really clean. There's no oil on it. There's no surface rust on it. No, none of that. Well, if you're sharpening completely dry on a diamond stone, then there's no water or oil to have to mess around with. That is the biggest reason that I use diamond stones, okay, is just simply that last edge that goes on a knife before it gets mailed to my customer. The second reason, and I don't really run into this a whole lot because I have not yet started working on the really, really hard super steels. You guys know I work in simple carbon steel for the majority of the time. 1095, 5160, 52100, 1095 and 15N20 pattern welded Damascus. The fanciest steel in my lineup right now is 440C stainless. 440C stainless at a good high working hardness of like 61, 62, somewhere around in there, is a little bit more abrasion resistant than my other steels, okay? You can tell that on a soft, like Arkansas stone, okay? Arkansas stones will cut it, it just takes a little bit longer. Same way with these man-made water stones. They'll cut that 440C stainless, it just takes a little bit longer. Yeah, you notice that especially on like straight razors, because straight razors you can't really add any more pressure because then the blade will flex away from the stone. It just takes you a little bit longer to sharpen it. The crystalline stones, those are made out of silicon carbide. Last I heard, you've got diamonds and you've got silicon carbide. I mean, silicon carbide is like the only thing harder than it is diamonds. So I can't imagine that silicon carbide couldn't cut, you know, your very high hardness, you know, tool steels and knife steels. But like I said, I've never really worked with them, so I can't tell you on that. But I do know a lot of guys that work in those high hardness super steels say diamonds are the way to go. And those are really the two big reasons. I mean, convenience and not having to use oil and water so that your knife arrives to your customer in pristine condition. Convenience that you don't have to use oil or water. And the fact that diamonds are the hardest substance that we have, and so they will cut anything that's out there. You can use diamonds to cut carbide. You know, the carbide tooling that I use on my lathe, you can cut those with diamonds. I don't know that I've tried really cutting them. No, I have. I've cut them with a silicon carbide wheel on my hard wheel grinder, but I don't know that I've actually taken a lathe bit made out of carbide and tried working it on silicon carbide. I'll have to do that as soon as I get done with you guys. So anyway, so that's why we mess with diamonds. And so I think it's going to be an interesting series going through all these stones and, you know, especially unboxing the new ones and seeing what they're like right out of the box, whether they got a whole bunch of trash on top of them or if they're relatively clean and nice and ready to go. So again, this is Joe Calton with Calton Cutlery, and visit me on the web, caltoncutlery.com. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we will see you next time.